My missus and I absolutely love watching game shows. It's one of our favourite pastimes if it's not any TV series or films or video games. One thing we like to do is watch game shows, and I don't know why, we just enjoy it. We like quizzing. We like quizzes. You know, we like to have our brains tested. We love general knowledge. So we watch game shows quite often, almost on a daily basis, especially when we're eating dinner. We'll put on a random game show. And what we've decided to watch recently is Family Fortunes, especially the old ones from the 1980s. And Family Fortunes is basically Family Feud from America, and the aim of the game is basically a survey of people are asked a bunch of questions, and the contestants have got to guess what the answers to those questions are. Basically, that is the most popular one, is to get the highest score. I digress. But basically, so we're watching Final Fantasy Family Fortunes one day, and one of the dumbest answers to a question I ever heard was, name a sea creature you're afraid of. And the obvious ones were given: shark, whale, crab even, but two stood out to me. One of them was starfish. Starfish, because what danger do those things possess? And the other one made me laugh so hard that I actually got a stitch. It made me laugh that much, because the other answer that was given... Now, bear in mind, name a sea creature you're afraid of. A sea creature. And the second answer that got was praying mantis. Praying mantis. A fucking insect. Oh god, it made me laugh so much. Oh, I had a good laugh this week, a very good laugh. My missus said something rather hilarious this week. I asked permission to mention this in my podcast, and she said I could. So, just so you know, I mean nothing bad in this. But she'll usually have bags under her eyes if she's overly tired with the job she has and the distance she drives to get there. It's almost a nightly occurrence, but I pointed it out one night where I said, your eyes are rather baggy this evening, did you get much sleep? And her response was, they're not baggy, they're designer. Don't know why I gave her a Dublin accent, but whatever. They're not baggy, they're designer. They're not baggy, they're designer. I was heartbroken after I thought she came up with that herself, but it turns out it's quite a popular phrase. I never heard it before, but I was nuts when she said it. My eyes are not baggy, they're designer. That was really clever. No dad joke for this episode. I'm going to phase it out. I feel like I'm plagiarising Colin Moriarty, to be fair, because like that's something he does and nobody else does it. So I feel like if he was to ever, or if anyone, any Colin Moriarty fan was to ever happen across my podcast and find out that I've been doing that, it wouldn't be the best of responses, because I don't want to steal other people's ideas. So I'm not going to do the dad jokes anymore. I can't think of any anyway. So, would you believe it or not, I'm still an avid collector of video game magazines. I've been a collector of video game magazines since I was 12 years old, and I kind of stopped buying magazines around the age of 18, 19, but I picked it back up again around the age of, I want to say 22 or 23, when I discovered the Retro Gamer magazine. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a video game magazine that caters to those that prefer older games, retro games, and it covers a lot of articles related to them. Some of them covering the history of Sonic the Hedgehog or Streets of Rage or Zelda or anything like that. So it's definitely in my ballpark in regards to what I like talking about in regards to video games. And the way I get my magazines now is I use a website called magazinesdirect.com, and they are a British magazine distributor that allows people to order magazines online and they will deliver it straight to your door. And sometimes they do like discounts and whatnot as well. So that's what I've been using to receive or to order my magazines for video game topics. And I've kind of stuck with Retro Gamer for the best part of, I want to say 8 years, 6 or 7 years maybe. And I've had up and down issues with them. Sometimes they deliver the wrong issue, and it's always been sorted out immediately. And sometimes they deliver a non-subscriber issue when I should have gotten a subscriber issue, because the subscriber issues would get different covers, and it's only unique to subscribers, so I get that as well. And they've been fairly decent. It's the problem I have with magazinesdirect.com is the length of time it takes for the magazines to arrive at my door. It's really strange. I could order something from Amazon and it would come from Britain, but it would get to my door in 2 days. But when I order something from magazinesdirect.com, it can take from 2 to 3 weeks for the magazine to arrive at my door. And that's from the moment the magazine becomes available in retail. 2 or 3 weeks later is when it arrives at my door. And I've gotten used to it at this point. I'm not too annoyed at it. But recently, I've decided to subscribe to 2 different other magazines. One of them being Edge Magazine, which is basically a multi-platform video game magazine. And I've subscribed to that. And I've also subscribed to the newly established Play magazine, which is a spiritual successor to the original Play magazine, and it has been merged with the official UK PlayStation magazine to create this magazine, as the official PlayStation magazine no longer exists. So they've merged with Play, and they've basically reincarnated the official official unofficial PlayStation magazine. So obviously it starts with issue 1, and it was advertised on the 7th of May. So the second it was advertised, I got the email for it and I ordered it immediately. I subscribed to the magazine, Play magazine, for €5 for 5 issues. That was the deal they were offering, and I ordered it immediately. And since I ordered it on the 7th of May, I should have received issue 1 because it was the June issue. And like I said, magazinesdirect.com take a really long time to deliver magazines outside of the UK. But this was the longest it took. So I ordered the magazine on the 7th of May, and it didn't get to my door until the 9th of June. That's 4 weeks and 6 days, or 5 days even. 4 weeks and 5 days it took. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It took so long that it skipped over issue 1 altogether, and I only received issue 2. In fact, I received 2 copies of issue 2. So, as I speak right now, I'm currently in an email battle with them, in which it's pretty one-sided because they're not replying to my emails at all. Because I sent them an email detailing that I did order this, I should have received it, as I don't only receive physical copies, I receive digital copies of the magazine as well. That's part of the subscription I'm buying, where you are getting the print and digital copies at once. And the proof of that is shown in a screenshot that I sent to them, where I have the June issue of Play magazine and I have the June issue, or the July issue of Play magazine. And the June issue never arrived, only the July issue, twice. So I'm currently trying to get this sorted as well. But sometimes I just wish there was... I sent an email to Future Publishing, which is the publisher of these magazines, begging them to pick a different distributor. Because these guys are useless. Absolutely useless. But there's only so much I can do, but if it doesn't get sorted within the next week, I'm going to ask for a refund, because I'm not paying for something I'm not getting. And it's just as bad with the Edge magazine. I'm waiting on the June and July issues of Edge magazine to come. And if they send me 2 copies of July, or at least no copy of June, I'm going to flip out, because this shouldn't be happening. Oh, yeah. Sometimes I just hate ordering from the UK. Sometimes living in Ireland, ordering from the UK is a fucking nightmare. An absolute fucking nightmare. It never works out properly.
Update.
I got on the phone to Future Publishing about the Retro Gamer magazine problem, and they said that they would send me out, not Retro Gamer, sorry, the Play magazine. They said they would send me out a copy of issue 1 and extend my subscription to an extra month as an apology. So that got sorted out, and my Edge magazine issue did come, and unfortunately I did not get the June issue, but it turns out there is a policy regarding subscriptions. When you subscribe, you do only get access to the next available issue. You don't get the one that's currently on sale. If you want to get the one that's currently on sale, you still have to buy that issue. Subscribing only sets you up from the month later. So I didn't know that, but whatever. Anyway, I'm currently looking for another job right now. And I have to say, after so many years, possibly spanning decades, nothing has changed. Companies still don't want to recruit new people. As I say this, most of the jobs I've spotted have wanted experienced people, or would prefer if people were experienced, which means they'll run you through the job and what it entails and give you a quick piece of training if you need it, but they would rather not. I also hate the lottery aspect of it as well. Like, you could be perfect for the job, but they've gone and hired someone else who'll probably not last there a month. Companies want too much these days, and it begs the classic question: how can I get a job without experience, and how can I get experience without a job? I think businesses should ease off a bit. Like, there's a lot of people out of work right now due to the pandemic, and these people are looking for the best of the best. Like, these companies, how about hiring some grunts? Because the grunts you had before left. The turnover in most businesses are crazy right now. The turnover in the company I'm working with is not great. Oh, it's just so stressful. I've been very stressed out over it. Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about. I thought I'd just get that out in the open. But let's move on. Video games. That's what this is about. The Driver Syndicate. Have you ever heard of the video game series Driver? It spanned numerous sequels over the last, I want to say, between the late 90s to, I want to say, maybe the late 2000s going into the early 2010s. And then they just stopped. The Driver series, as you may or may not know from either playing it yourself growing up, or if you didn't play it, you might have only discovered it on the internet, or you might have dabbled in it, or you might have looked at it, but whatever. If you don't know what Driver is a series of video games that came out starting 1999, I want to say. And the aim of the game is basically this: you drive a car, you cannot exit the car, it's not like Grand Theft Auto, but you are in an open world environment, and it will be a real world city like Miami, New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, whatever. And there's two modes to play. There's a free roam mode and there's the story mode, right? So if you're playing the story mode, you're doing a bunch of go here, go here, go here missions, fetch quests. Go here, pick this up, go here. Race to this location within the set amount of time. That's basically what Driver is. In the free roam mode, you get to drive wherever you want and whatever. Now, the unique thing about this game is that you can drive... So, the road laws are in this game. So if you're caught speeding by a policeman, he will chase you. Same goes with overtaking, or undertaking, I think. Driving on the wrong side of the road, crashing into another car in front of a policeman, he will chase you. So cops are very much a part of this game. And it plays out like a 70s action movie. That's the theme of the game, and it was like that in Driver 1, it was like that in Driver 2, and it bled into Driver 3. And then they actually made it set in the 70s in Driver 4, or Parallel Lines as it's called. And from Driver 2, they allowed you to get out of your car, and then Driver 3, they allowed you to shoot weapons, and Driver 4, they made it a full-on open-world Grand Theft Auto rip-off, but they focused more on the driving for Parallel Lines. And then they released Driver San Francisco, where they restricted you to the car again, but they did a unique feature where you could hot swap between different vehicles if you wanted to get somewhere quicker. And then the series just kind of stopped. I mean, there were mobile ports here and there, but aside from that, nothing much. The series just kind of died out, and there hasn't really been ever since they were bought by Ubisoft, the series just went downhill. But I suppose there's been plenty of competition with the likes of Grand Theft Auto and, Watch Dogs, which is basically a spiritual successor to Driver in a way. Not really, but they were going to make a Driver game out of that before they changed it to Watch Dogs. I digress. But so that's what Driver is. It came, it went, doesn't really exist anymore. However, someone on the internet, and I think I have his name right here, goes by the name of Soapy Man. That's his nickname, or Ilya Shuromov. And what he done is he did a unique thing. Well, it's not very unique, but it's quite cool anyway. Sorry about that. He took Driver 2 and he reverse engineered it. Now, let me give you a quick tidbit on Driver 2. Now, Driver 2 hasn't aged well at all. Now, Driver 1, you could argue, hasn't aged that well either, but I think Driver 1 plays outstanding. But Driver 2 was a game that should not have been released on the PS1. It pushed the PS1 beyond its limits. It caused the game to run really slow. Too much going on. They pushed it too hard. If that game was an early PS2 game, if they were to take a little bit more time and made it a PS2 game, it could have ran a lot better. Could have been a lot better. And then Driver 3 would have been much better, and so on and so forth. But that's just hindsight. But Driver 2 didn't run that great. And I've always had that complaint. But this guy, Soapy Man, I think his name is. Yeah. He reverse engineered Driver 2. And what he done was that he added widescreen support, like true widescreen support, 60 frames per second, or 30 frames per second, but solid 30 frames per second, because the original one couldn't even pass 20 half the time. It was really, really slow. And it wasn't just that it was a frame rate issue, it was a slowdown issue as well. It caused the game to go in slow motion half the time. That was fixed, completely fixed. The game had full controller support, full analog controller support, and it just made the whole game much better. And he ported it onto the PC for free of charge, and I played it. I played it from start to finish. That was my experience playing Driver 2 in recent years, because I could not. I played it so much as a child and hated it. This one is called ReDriver 2, and it's a reverse engineered port of Driver 2 for the PC, and it's wonderful. And I was really impressed by it, and I always hoped that he would go and do something like re-engineer Driver 1, or remaster Driver 3 and Driver Parallel Lines and bring it to Steam or consoles. That would be amazing, because he's got a lot of potential. But I was reading a section from an article on I'm collecting these magazines now called Edge magazine, and I never really bought a multi-platform magazine in a long time, so this is the first one I've bought since Games Master years and years ago. But anyway, so I'm reading this article on Edge magazine. This is issue 359 for July 2021, so it's the most recent issue as I say this now. And I came across this article, and it says on the headline, The Driver Syndicate. And it says underneath, the long dormant Driver series gets an old school indie tribute, and that immediately caught my eye. And I'm just going to read the top paragraph. It says, the Driver Syndicate's developer has taken a safety instruction to please keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times, and made it a mantra. While the Driver games eventually enable players to take to the streets on foot, this homage plants a thumb firmly in your car's key fob and locks all the doors with you inside. There'll be no shooting or hacking here. You've only your wheel and your two pedals to assist in escaping the authorities. As Thief's successor Gloomwood has already shown, there's a kind of reverse punk to be found in nostalgia with the rose tint turned off. Rewards await those who reject genre-based practice, eschew the comforts of modernisation, and commit wholly to their ancient inspiration. sharp edges and all. So it is with the Driver Syndicate, which rewinds the clock to the year 2000 and Driver 2's PlayStation release. And then it says, nobody knows that game's code better than Ilya Shuromov, or Soapy Man, the primary force behind last year's Redriver 2, a fan project that ported its parent game to the PC for the first time. Working on the mod gave Shuromov an understanding of Driver's physics engine, traffic, AI, rubber banding, and the way muscle cars behave when thrown through the air. All of which has informed the Driver Syndicate. He does point out, however, that none of Driver's Ubisoft-owned code is used directly in his own game, merely a couple of sound files. So basically, this guy is remaking and creating a spiritual remake of the original Driver. And I'm looking at screenshots right now, and it looks very much like an old Driver game. So he's basically remaking Driver, but not calling it Driver. And it looks... I did not know this was happening. I hope it... apparently it's coming to PC and Android, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just going to open it again and have a look. I keep banging the table, sorry about that. It's causing the microphone to go into an echo, but... I lost it. Man, where is it? Here it is. It's coming out on Android, iOS and PC. The very least it's coming out in PC, so I hope it comes out, I hope it plays well, and I hope it gets great feedback, because that could be the start of something magnificent, you know? The Driver series coming back under the name The Driver Syndicate. So I don't know if he's going to keep it like that, if that's the name it's going to stick with, or is he going to call it something else. But to play a classic Driver game with modern controls would be ideal as well. Like, analog sticks, you know, analog control, triggers, you know, it sounds stupid saying it like that, but the whole Driver series have been nothing but you press the A button to drive, and it doesn't age very well. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. And speaking of modern controls, geez, what a segue. There aren't enough video games out there that allow for the adjustment of analog stick. Deadzone. And I recently downloaded Titanfall 2 the other day. No plans on playing it yet, just thought I would install it on my Xbox and just keep it there for whenever I do. But one thing I am really starting to notice when it comes to playing first-person shooters on the Xbox in particular is the inclusion, or the lack of inclusion, of Deadzone on the analog sticks. Now, what Deadzone basically allows, at least from my experience, is that, right, my Xbox controller has slightly drifting analog sticks, especially the left one. It's not too bad, it's just enough to be noticeable. And hold on a second. Yeah, so my Xbox controller. Okay. My Xbox controller has stick drift slightly. It's not too bad. It's just enough to be noticeable. And so I've avoided playing some games on it, like Far Cry 3 remastered. I can't play that because if I'm aiming down the sights of a gun, I'm slowly moving to one side. And if I use another controller, the scope of the gun moves to one side. So the right analog stick is a little bit sensitive on one controller, and the left analog stick is a little bit sensitive on the other. And I suppose the general solution there is to just buy another controller or get some compressed air or something. But like, the compressed air thing would probably just make it a temporary solution, and compressed air is not very easy to get where I live, and blowing into it is only achieving so much. But where I'm going with this is that Deadzone is a godsend for this kind of problem, because what Deadzone allows you to do is it allows you to adjust the point of contact with the analog stick in relation to the action on the game itself, which means if I increase the Deadzone, let's say I increase the Deadzone to its maximum, what that basically means is if I was to increase that to maximum, then I could move the analog stick ever so slightly, but nothing would happen until a little bit further in. And then the input would register on the console. And the reason I'm mentioning Titanfall 2 is because Titanfall 2 is one of few games, on console at least, that allows Deadzone to be adjusted. Because I started playing a little bit of Titanfall 2 the other day, and it was still installing at that point, so I could only do the tutorial mission. So I was playing it for about a minute, and then I realised, well, I'm moving without actually moving. I'm not doing anything. So there was a little bit of stick drift, so I was immediately turned off. So I was going to turn the game off and delete it, but I said I'll go into the options screen and see if I can fix the sensitivity, because that's normally what I do. But then I found it. There's Deadzone, and then there's aiming Deadzone. And I thought, that is a godsend. Why is this not in every game? The second I adjusted that, it was fixed. It should come standard with every game console that you should be allowed to adjust analog stick Deadzone. That should be a standard setting that you should be able to adjust. Now, I don't know if it's on the Xbox Series X, S, or the PS5, but it's not on the PS4 and it's not on Xbox One. And I think every game, or at least every console, should have it as a setting as standard. Because I can't play certain games on my Xbox because of this. It's a nightmare. Just as I was about to record this episode of this podcast, I noticed a news piece regarding Cyberpunk 2077 and CD Projekt Red, so I'm going to get this out of the way before I continue. And I know it's taken me a long time to get to the intro of this podcast, but I apologise, but whatever. So Cyberpunk 2077 is apparently coming back to the PlayStation Store, but CD Projekt Red do not recommend playing it on a base PlayStation 4 system. They recommend playing it on at least a PlayStation 4 Pro onwards. That's interesting, by the way. So they definitely had at least the PlayStation 4 Pro in mind when making this, but I reckon they moved their focus to the PlayStation 5 while leaving the PlayStation 4 in the dust, as it were. So I can only imagine that this game is only going to play slightly better than what it did before it was taken away from the PlayStation Store. So I guess basically, if you're going to play Cyberpunk 2077, if you don't have an eye for bugs and you don't notice it and you'll enjoy it regardless, then I guess go ahead, just buy it and play it. You'll probably like it anyway. But for someone like me, who does notice bugs, who does notice glitches, who does get distracted by them, and who does get, I get taken out of the game when I see it, because it sometimes ruins it, especially if it's very prominent, or if it's game breaking. If I do experience that, then I'm sorry, CD Projekt, but you're not getting my money. I'm not paying full whack for a game that is not very well optimised. I've got two options. I'm either going to wait and play that game on a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, or I'm going to wait on the new version that they're going to come out with anyway and see how that plays. But as it stands, I've got a friend who loved Cyberpunk with or without its faults. Now, he's got a better opinion of it than me because he's actually played it. He's played through it. But he wouldn't, I don't think he would really, he likes games almost unconditionally. He loves playing games unconditionally. He doesn't give a fuck about what bugs may or may not be in the game. He just wants to play the game. And he said it himself. He says, see, if you stop focusing on bugs or glitches that may or may not be in the game, or stupid little things like that, if you actually just sit and play the actual game itself, it's good. And that's an opinion I can get behind, because I wish I was like that. Unfortunately, I'm not. I do try and enjoy games with or without their faults, but sometimes if a fault just takes me out of the fucking game, or if I have to stop and reboot a game because it keeps fucking freezing, or if I have to stop and reload a game because a quest glitched out, then I have to fucking... Then I'm not interested, I'm sorry. You know, Cyberpunk 27 is a massive game, and I don't want to waste my time with it if it's going to distract me, because I'm easily distracted. You know, I mean, I've had a lot of issues with... particularly achievements and trophies, actually. This happened back to back on 2 different games. So, I'm going to briefly talk about this. I'm going to briefly talk about the games I've been playing, but I want to get this out of the way first. So, I've been playing, I just recently beat Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Good game, I'll get to that in a minute. And I noticed halfway through playing the game, near the end, I'm like, well, I haven't unlocked an achievement in a while. And I thought the achievements were few and far between, because some games are like that. But it turns out the game has quite a handful of achievements and trophies. And I should have unlocked about 90% of them by the time I beat the game. For every chapter I beat, I should have gotten an achievement, and I didn't get one. For beating the game, I should have gotten an achievement, and I didn't get one. And it turns out there was a glitch regarding the Xbox version, at least, where if you play your games a certain way, so if I'm playing Hellblade a certain way, they will completely just not be unlockable. Because I was playing it in such a way where I play all my games like this, where I'll play a game, and then when I'm done, I'll leave the game on, paused, and then I'll put the console into rest mode. And then when I get up the following day or whatever, I'll turn it back on. It'll come straight in from rest mode, straight into the game. I can continue where I left off. That's how I play it. But unfortunately, Hellblade doesn't like that. If you do that, at least on the Xbox version, it'll act as if the achievements were never gotten. You never got them. So, I only got like 2 or 3 achievements on that game, and I should have got about 10, at least. So, that happened. And then I started playing Watch Dogs 2, and I realised that the Platinum Trophy on that is quite easily obtainable. So I'm like, right, it seems I can get this in one playthrough, so I'll give it a go. I've only got maybe one side mission or one activity trophy to get, and a bunch of mission trophies that are unmissable. I'll get them as I play. And then there's one for collecting a bunch of things called key datas, right? There's 24 of them, and I got them. I got all 24 key datas, but the trophy didn't fucking pop. And apparently there's a bug regarding that as well. I don't know how the bug happens, but there's nothing left to it. I got all 24 collectible items. I should have got the trophy, but I didn't. People are saying that, oh, you have to make sure that you have all 24. You're telling me the obvious shite. But it's slightly, not saying it's completely ruining my experience, because I'm still playing the fucking thing. But it's a sour taste left in my mouth, knowing that if I really do want to get that Platinum Trophy, I'm going to have to at least wait until I beat the game, because I'm beating that shit. Beat the game and then restart and spend a few hours getting the necessary upgrades to obtain these items. And just not only spending hours getting to the point where I need to get in order to go and get all of the collectibles, but fucking praying and hoping that the trophies lock in at this point and that I can still get them. You know, because I don't want to start the game again, play about 4, 5, 6 hours for the trophy to still not pop. That would anger me. That would be a big waste of fucking time. I digress. Let's move on. Oh my god, I just spent well over half an hour before getting to the intro. Anyway, if this is your first time joining, welcome to the GB Gaming Podcast. This is episode 13 for June the 18th, 2021. I'm Dave talking to you on GB Gaming, where video games come first. And I did a unique thing with this episode. So even though it's the 18th of June, I've actually been talking throughout the week for this podcast. So I've been doing little bits of segments and sections because I've been covering E3. So as I'm covering E3, I'm trying to talk about the topics that I want to talk about. So I was talking about something on Sunday, I was talking about something on Monday, and so on and so forth, and I would just save them on the video editing file, and then I would do the final one when I feel like enough content has been added, and I feel like a lot of content has been thrown in for this week. I've got a lot to talk about. Now, last week I said that I was going to talk about a handful of press conferences, not all of them, and I'm certainly not going to deep dive into all of them either. I'm going to talk about the things that I watch that I'm very interested in, and if it doesn't interest me, I'll at least acknowledge it if I can, and then move on to the next thing. Like, for example, the PC Gaming Showcase. I'm not going to go into details on that one, but I'll have a brief look at it, and if there's anything that catches my attention or my interest, then I will talk about it very briefly. But if it doesn't interest me, I won't talk about it. So if you go back and you listen to this podcast and you think that I've missed something, either deliberate or by accident, but it'll probably be deliberate, because I'm not going to talk about everything. Anyway, so I didn't look at E3 from the beginning. I didn't watch what presentations were they doing first, because the first presentation I decided to watch was the Xbox presentation. That was the one I really wanted to watch, because to be honest, it was the only one that seemed relevant to me, because the first presentations that they were doing was Ubisoft. I'm not really interested in watching Ubisoft's presentation, but I heard they were shite anyway. Well, save from the Mario and Rabbids sequel that got announced. I know that's a Ubisoft title, and I hate that it's a Ubisoft title, but I think it's only because it's the Rabbids thing that it is. But I would have put that under a Nintendo announcement. That's why I didn't briefly mention it. And also, I guess I should correct myself. The Xbox presentation wasn't technically the first thing I watched in regards to E3. It was actually the Summer Games Showcase that was on last weekend. So I'm going to briefly talk about that in a minute, but before I get to that, I just want to mention that, yeah, I did not watch the Ubisoft press conference. Gearbox presentation, not interested, because I knew fine well they were going to focus on either Borderlands or Tiny Tina's Wonderland, or whatever that's called. 24 Entertainment's presentation, I've never heard of them, so I wasn't going to talk about that. So let's kick this off with the Summer Games Fest, I want to say it was called. Oh god, I am terrible at this. Summer Game Fest 2021, if I'm not mistaken. That was a week ago, yes. So I'm going to briefly talk about that and the games that were announced for that. That was on... Well, I suppose the Summer Game Fest is happening all week, isn't it? But I'm talking about the first conference they did last week. I didn't get to talk about that, so I'm going to talk about that. So they announced a bunch of games on that, so I'm only going to talk about the game announcements. So they announced Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which I just mentioned, Metal Slug Tactics. That very much interested me, and what I'm annoyed about is that there are people out there, particularly one content creator who I love. I really enjoy his content, but he had a bad take when he was watching this Summer Game Fest announcement. He looked at Metal Slug Tactics and he was like, why are they making this? Why can't they just stick to the original formula? Mate, that original formula has been recycled so many fucking times over its existence. You know, I like Metal Slug, but like on the surface they're very hard to differentiate between titles because they all look and play the exact same. And I suppose that's the case for a lot of SNK titles, but nevertheless, you had a bad take on this one because Metal Slug Tactics looks amazing. It's basically Final Fantasy Tactics, but it's Metal Slug. You know, that looks amazing to me. I love that. Like, so I'm not a Metal Slug fan per se. Like, I'm not a massive fan of it, but I enjoy it. I've got the anthology, I think, on PlayStation 4, and I really enjoy it. They're fun games. But yeah, a tactics one would be amazing. So I'm looking forward to that personally. There was also a small bit including Hideo Kojima and Death Stranding and what they're doing with that game. They released a quite comical trailer for the director's cut of Death Stranding, where it showed the main character, Sam Bridges, in this warehouse, and he's like kind of hiding from these guards, and he stands around and he notices this cardboard box, and he takes the cardboard box, he opens it up, he puts it on the ground, and he stands and looks at it for a moment, and then he jumps in, sits there for like 3 seconds, and then jumps back out, puts the box away, and that's it. Death Stranded director's cut. I loved the little nod. I don't even know if it was a nod or a knock, but it was a little nod to the Metal Gear franchise, which Hideo Kojima is probably the most famous for. And one of the main features of that game, if you don't know, then I don't know what fucking box you've been living under, pardon the pun, but one of the main features of that game, and it's quite a fun feature, is that you can use cardboard boxes to hide from enemies, and it became a staple of the series for its entire span, I reckon. So that was a wee nod to that. So Death Stranding director's cut coming to PS5. Don't know what it's going to have, but whenever I do decide to get a PS5, whenever that may be, I'll definitely be diving into that one, because I love Death Stranding. It means a lot to me, from an emotional standpoint, from a personal standpoint, from a gameplay standpoint as well. I do actually like the gameplay. It's very relaxing. If you go into it knowing what the game is, you'll be fine. But that game means a lot to me. I'm not going to go into a deep dive on that, but if you do want to know how much Death Stranding means to me, I reckon you... What video was it? There was a video I made last year or the year before, and I can't remember what video it was. I mentioned Death Stranding and why... Oh, it was an update on where I had been, what I had been doing at the end of 2019, I think. I think that's what it was. Oh god. And I briefly mentioned Death Stranding anyway. I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyway, so after Death Stranding... Sorry, I tend to do this all the time. I just waffle on. I go off topic. I'm fucking terrible for it. Let's move on. So after Death Stranding, we had Jeff Goldblum on the fucking camera talking about Jurassic World Evolution 2. And me and him should be best pals because we both have a habit of going Jurassic World Evolution 2, yep, that's coming out. Not a lot of excitement for it, I guess. I didn't know this, but people don't really like Jurassic World Evolution. I mean, if you're a massive Jurassic World fan, then I guess you will like it. I love it. I'm not a massive Jurassic World fan, but I love Jurassic Park, the original. But I like dinosaurs in general, and I like park creators. So I've played a lot of Jurassic World Evolution, and it's really fun. So I'm enjoying that. So yeah, I'm happy for Jurassic World Evolution 2. That looks good. Among Us is coming to PS4, I reckon, or is it PlayStation Now? I didn't really get to read it properly, but they announced that for PS5 or something. I don't know, but Among Us, yay, Among Us. Now I can't pronounce this very well, but the Anacrusis. It's a co-op shooter from former Valve writer Chet Falizek, I can't pronounce your name, mate, sorry. It's coming to Game Pass later this year, and it's basically like Left 4 Dead, with better AI. That's what it says on the headline here. So, I guess if you're into Left 4 Dead, you've got another game of its ilk coming out with this one. And then they announced Blood Hunt. And it's basically a vampire battle royale game. Not my cup of tea, but the only battle royale game I've really enjoyed in recent years is Warzone from Call of Duty. So, a vampire battle royale game. Very cool. Then they announced Planet of Lana, or Lena. And this is one of these situations where I'm waiting for Playdead's next fucking installment. So anything that I see that's remotely related to it or remotely looks like it, I'm like, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? So I'm very much anticipating that. Don't know if it's going to happen. But Planet of Lana looks very much like that type of game. And it starts off very happy. It starts off really nice. This wee lad playing with these little pet dog, cat thing, whatever the fuck it was. And And then he just turns around and sees these meteors crashing, and it just looks bleak and sinister. It's like, oh god, this looks very much like Limbo or Inside or something along that tone. I love games like that. You know, I love side-scrolling adventure games. I love it. I can't wait to see more of this. Don't know when it's coming out. I think it's coming out Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and Steam sometime in 2022. So I'll definitely jump into that one. Next, that was announced was Overwatch 2, which surprised me. Very much surprised me. And it surprised me because I guess people have been expecting Overwatch 2 for some time, but it surprised me because I didn't see it coming. Personally, I did not see it coming because they've been working on Diablo 4, and Diablo Immortal recently came out, I think. Or it's coming out, like, even though it's a mobile game, but they're working on other projects. I did not see Overwatch 2 coming, so if Overwatch 2 was always going to happen, and it was always going to happen soon, you took me by surprise because I didn't see it coming whatsoever. But I guess I'm happy that Overwatch 2 is coming out. I have Overwatch 1. I've played it numerous times before. I played mostly with my partner. We played that together a few times. I like it. Overwatch is a very fun game. Very addictive game. And yeah, I guess I'm happy Overwatch 2 is being made. They deserve to make a sequel. The first one was very successful. The first time I even discovered the first one was my brother, who loves games like that, went on and on and on about it. He watched every trailer, he watched every video. He was very much anticipating that game when it was first announced back in 2016 or 2015. And yeah, that's basically where I discovered Overwatch, was through my brother. So I eventually got it, and it's really fun. Really good game. But I haven't played it in about a year or two now. I have a physical copy, but I haven't touched it. I don't even think I've taken it out of its plastic wrapping because I already have it digitally. I digress. Fall Guys, Ultimate Knockout. I've never... Okay, I'm not going to say Fall Guys is bad. I just don't get it. I guess I do get it. It looks addictive. It looks fun. But it looks like a game you would play with a bunch of friends. It's that kind of game. That's the kind of game I would definitely have played back in 2010 or so, when I was at the peak of my online gaming phase, as it were. You know, I used to play online games all the fucking time. Almost every day I was playing Gears of War or FIFA or any fucking obscure online game that we could think of playing. We would all play it, and there was always about 5 or 6 or 7 of us. We would have definitely dove into to Fall Guys. But they announced that Nier Automata's 2B character is coming to Fall Guys, so there's that, I guess. Whoopee. I'm not a Fall Guys fan. I wish I was, but I'm not. Back 4 Blood got a trailer. Again, that's another Left 4 Dead spiritual successor. There's not much I can say about it. Looks fun, but I might try it. Maybe, don't know. The Evil Dead got a trailer. The Evil Dead video game. Again, not interested. If you're interested in that, then good for you. The highlight of this Games Fest trailer, presentation, was Elden Ring. Finally, we got an Elden Ring trailer. I can't say much about it that hasn't already been said, but from my perspective, I would probably need to see proper gameplay first. I mean, real gameplay, like showing the first level and showing off what the game is. Now, if there's a video of that, I haven't watched it yet, but because looking at the trailer on the surface, it just looks like another Dark Souls game, and I know that sounds egregious, but or whatever the word is I'm looking for, but I think it just looks like Dark Souls from a distance. But I know there's more to it. Otherwise, you wouldn't just call it Elden Ring. From Software know what they're doing. You can ride a horse now, which suggests that the game is going to be much more open-ended than previous games, if it ever wasn't before. English, David. So an open world Dark Souls, like open-ended. And I suppose all the Dark Souls games before that, Soulsborne, all them, were all open-ended as well, but they were all basically like Batman Arkham, where certain segments would open up, like a modern version of a Metroidvania. But this one looks like it could be open world, with the same mechanics thrown in. I would look forward to that. So Elden Ring, definitely a good one. Definitely the highlight of the Summer Games Fest presentation that happened last week. I'm muddling up my words. It's very early in the morning. So that was the Summer Games Fest. It was alright. Wasn't too bad. A lot of people hated it, but I liked it. But I'm easily pleased, do you know? I'm easily pleased. But, yeah. My most anticipated titles from that presentation were Metal Slug Tactics, Death Stranding Director's Cut, Jurassic World Evolution 2, and Elden Ring. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to briefly talk about Starfield. Very excited about that. I'm very happy that it's Game Pass day one, exclusive to Xbox, and it's developed using the Creation Engine. Now, that concerns me. Because the Creation Engine is the same engine that was used to create Skyrim and Fallout 4. Now, what is one of the first things you think of when you think of that engine and those games? Bugs. Hella bugs. Hella glitches. Fucking no way. It was fun at first. It was charming at first, you could say. But I don't think the gaming community is going to forgive it this time. Now, I'm not saying they all forgave it the first time, but we're more aware of it now. And Bethesda have came under fire with the amount of bugs and glitches in their games lately, with Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. You know, I don't think they're going to be let away with it this time if they release a brand new IP and it's made by the Creation Engine and it's buggy as hell. I hope they actually learn to create the game. Now, I will expect bugs on launch. That's normal. But if it's your typical Bethesda bugs, it begs the question. You've been working on games for as long as you have and you're proud of it, but yet for some strange reason you can't get a game working 100%. Like, not 100% even, like 70%. You know, like, I don't want to see any game-breaking bugs on Starfield. Bugs, yeah. Game-breaking bugs, no. But nevertheless, I am excited for a brand new IP from the same people that made Skyrim and Fallout. I'm excited for that. So, I'll look forward to that one. After Starfield, they went and announced Stalker 2. Now, it's my first time seeing a Stalker game in action, because I missed out on the original. Not so much missed out, just it never came under my radar. So I didn't really know what Stalker was. No idea what Stalker was. So I didn't really have much to go on in regards to that. But I decided to look it up. Now I'm going to open this bookmark again. And basically what Stalker is, the first one came out in 2007. And I would only imagine that was on the Xbox 360. Nope, it was a PC exclusive. Okay, so that's why it was under my radar and I didn't see it. Stalker is a first-person shooter survival horror game developed by GSC Game World and published by THQ in 2007. Apparently following a long development, and the game is set in an alternative reality where a second nuclear disaster occurred at the Chernobyl exclusion zone, causing strange changes in the area around it. The game features a non-linear storyline and includes role-playing gameplay elements such as trading and two-way communication with non-player characters. That's the first game. And they released a few other bits and bobs here and there. And then the second game was announced at the Xbox presentation. And it was actually announced earlier than that, actually, now that I'm looking at it. Stalker 2 was announced in 2010, with an initial release date of 2012. That's interesting. 2010. Wow. So it's been in development hell for nigh on 12 years almost, I would say. This is interesting. I'm going to read this now. So Stalker 2 was announced in 2010, initially scheduled to release in 2012. The CEO of the game company specified that the video game featured a completely new multi-platform engine written by the company itself. On December 23rd, 2011, GSC Game World announced they would be continuing development of Stalker 2 despite an earlier announcement pointing to its cancellation. However, Stalker 2 was cancelled yet again by GSC Game World through a Twitter post on April 25th, 2012. And we wouldn't see anything from that game until 2018, where they basically started from scratch. So development of a new Stalker 2 was announced on the 15th of May 2018 with a post on the Cossacks 3 Facebook page, of all places. The post links to a website that displays the text Stalker 2 2021, implying a release year of 2021 powered by Unreal Engine 4. And let's fast forward to 2020, where the game company published a screenshot of the game which was in development, promising they would share new information about the game in the coming months. And then they announced on July 2020 that the game will be released for Xbox Series X, S, and Microsoft Windows in 2021, which will be the first time the series will be on consoles. And then on December 2020, an in-engine teaser of the game was released, and here we are, 2021, on the 13th of June, where a release date was confirmed for the 28th of April 2022. Wow, I hope this game comes out, and I hope it does well. What a nightmare. What an absolute nightmare. That's crazy. So I'm happy that this game is finally coming out, and I hope it does well. And God knows, I might try it out. I don't know if I actually own the original Stalker. I probably don't. Then again, I've always been surprised by my Steam library as of late, finding games that I didn't know I had. I do not own Stalker of all. Okay, I do not own Stalker. But I would try it. I would definitely like to try it. Yeah, do you know what? If this game ends up doing well, I might buy it just to support the developers at least, because that sounds like a nightmare. Anyway, so Stalker 2 was announced after Starfield, and then after that was Back 4 Blood, which is basically a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead, and it is everything Left 4 Dead in everything but name. Now, I'm not going to talk about too much about Bad 4 Blood because I'm not a big fan of multiplayer games anymore, and they already did a presentation on it too, like after Square Enix's presentation. They did more Back 4 Blood footage, so I'm not really interested. Well, I might play it, but this game kind of game passed me by. Like, don't get me wrong, it does look fun, but I can't see myself jumping into it immediately. Then again, day one on Game Pass, so I can at least try it if it comes out and I remember that it's there. I mean, also Stalker 2, like I mentioned, also day one on Game Pass. So far, it's 3 for 3 on these Game Pass releases, which is brilliant. So another game was announced called Contraband, and I can't say much about it. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is, but it looks cool, I guess. So obviously I can't say much about that. And then Sea of Thieves got an expansion called A Pirate's Life, and it looks like Jack Sparrow and the gang is coming to this one. Can't say much about this either. I'm happy it's still being supported, Sea of Thieves. It looks like it could be fun with friends, but for someone like me who prefers to play solo, it's not a game I'd be interested in. If you're a Sea of Thieves player who likes Pirates of the Caribbean, then I guess this is going to suit you down to the ground. This is quite a highlight for me now. All of the Yakuza games are available, at least all of the mainline Yakuza games are available in Game Pass, including the latest entry, which is Yakuza Like a Dragon. That is amazing. Now, I started the Yakuza series a couple of years ago. What was it? It was Yakuza. It was last year, actually. Yakuza 0. I said I would start the Yakuza series and I would start by playing Yakuza 0 and work my way up. But I don't know what stopped me. I just stopped playing it because I realised that there's so many games. I mean, I've got to buy them all, and then if I end up getting fed up with them, I've got to stop buying them, and I feel like I would just waste my time and money. But now that it's coming to Game Pass, that's a great opportunity to jump in. I just hope they stay on Game Pass for a long time, because that's a lot of games, that's a lot of content, that's a lot of hours. Xbox, you need to keep those games on Game Pass for as long as possible. Especially for someone like me who's planning on diving in eventually, but I don't know when. We've got to see a quick gameplay trailer for Battlefield 2042 during this press conference as well. I'm already a fan of the series, so this will be a pickup for me. Although, like, I'll always have time for a Battlefield title if I'm going to play it online, any online game, like. But I am slightly disappointed that it's not available day one on Game Pass. That would have been huge for the series if they were to announce that. But then again, EA is going to EA. They like to control their games in such a way where they want to earn money. So much so that this game is going to cost $70 or €70. And it's going to be an online only game. And, you know, people are annoyed about that. People are annoyed that Battlefield 2042 is going to be online only. And I don't understand why. Obviously, EA has the numbers of people who actually take the time to play the campaign for Battlefield games. And I guarantee they looked at the numbers and they thought, well, a low percentage plays the campaign for these games. So what's the point in making it if almost nobody's going to bother with it? Because when you go into a Battlefield game, you're going to go in there to play online. You definitely are. And people are annoyed that it's not going to have a single player campaign. Now, hear me out, this might shock you, but the original Battlefield 1942, and its expansion Vietnam, and the follow-up Battlefield 2, and Battlefield 2142, and Battlefield 1943, all of them never had a single player campaign. The original Battlefield 1942 never had a single player campaign. It was a strictly multiplayer game. You could play offline, but you'd be playing against bots. Battlefield was never a single player game at heart. It was a multiplayer game. That was its focus. So it's not surprising that they've gone back to that. So you shouldn't really be annoyed. You'd be disappointed, but calling them out as a bad decision, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think this is a good decision because this is what their strength is. This is what they're good at, and I'm okay with it. You can say what you want about the price. $70, €70 is steep, but it's not going to go down. Not immediately. So if you want it, but you don't want to pay that kind of money, you may as well wait. Or get it on PC. I'm sure it'll be cheaper there, but whatever. Another game was announced called 12 Minutes, and this looks like a game my partner would enjoy because it's an adventure game by Annapurna, or developed by Luis Antonio but published by Annapurna Interactive, and it seems alright. Like I said, I know, like, I'm not really a massive fan of adventure games per se, but I don't hate them. I don't hate them, but this comes from the same company that published Outer Wilds. They also published The Unfinished Swan. They published Journey for Microsoft Windows, Florence, Flower, What Remains of Edith Finch. Now, I know they didn't develop all those games, but it goes to show that the developers they choose to publish, like the developers they choose, or the you know what I mean, the games that they publish happen to be developed by companies that develop good games, is what I'm trying to say. So I can't see 12 Minutes being a bad one. It looks decent enough. I'm quite interested in the fact that it's starring, I think it was this one, starring James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe. And it looks good. It looks good. It's coming out on August 19th, which is early enough. I might try it, but I want to kind of play other adventure games first. I haven't played that many of them. The one I've played most recently was Detroit Become Human, and that was 2 years ago. But my fiance would definitely love this. She loves games like this, so I'll probably let her know that this is coming out. She might like it. So August 19th. Psychonauts 2 coming on August 25th, day one on Game Pass. Psychonauts is a game series I missed out on from not being a massive fan of platformers originally. But nowadays, I think I might give it a fair go. So it was cool to see this announcement. It gives me incentive to try out the original Psychonauts, whenever that may be. So I'm happy that's coming out. Tons of Bethesda games coming to Game Pass, including the original Fallout games for PC, which is crazy. Now, let me just... Now, I said I would do this if I found it, if I remembered, and I've obviously forgotten to fucking do it. But these games are coming to Game Pass, which means they're available on the Microsoft storefront. So I'm just going to take a quick look at Fallout 1 and 2, or whatever it was they announced to come to Game Pass. I just want to have a quick look at it to see... because I'm quite interested to know if this game carries achievements. I just want to see if these games carry achievements. Now, I can get Game Pass Ultimate on PC for €1 for 3 months, so if I do decide to do it, and it does carry achievements, this might be where I start. How do you look at it? I'm currently on the Microsoft Store on PC right now, and it's very... I'm not saying it's finicky, it's just... I'm looking for Game Pass and I can't find it. I cannot find it. It's not here immediately. It's very, very awkward. Very awkward. If I click into this Game Pass advertisement for 3 months, if I can find a link to go into Game Pass itself, where can I see that? This is very, very confusing. I don't want to shop now, I just want to look at it. I apologise profusely about this. Bethesda joins Xbox. Here we go. Here's Fallout 1, included with Game Pass. Does it carry achievements? I would love to know. I don't think it does. But that would be amazing. Now, you can already buy it for $7.99 if you've got a Game Pass subscription, or a tenner if you don't. That would be quite cool if these games carried achievements. But they're just ports of the older games that you can buy on the Microsoft Store, that's all. I already have them on Steam, so I'm okay. But yeah, tons of Bethesda games coming to Game Pass anyway. I want to briefly talk about them. Fallout, obviously. So that's Fallout 1, Fallout 2, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout Tactics, all available on Game Pass if you're a PC player. Obviously, Fallout 3 New Vegas on Xbox if you've got that. Arx Fatalis, or Fatalis, I can't pronounce that. Fatalis, I'm going to say Fatalis. Arx Fatalis. The Evil Within 2 and The Evil Within 1. Now, I don't know if these are on console as well. I'm looking at the PC one, as I said. Skyrim, Fallout 4, Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, Doom 2, Doom 3, Doom 1, Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Morrowind. Now, some of these were already on Game Pass to begin with, but the one that stood out to me was Wolfenstein 2, because I've been meaning to try out Wolfenstein for a while, and I was going to try out Wolfenstein, but I wanted to wait until I could play the first one, Now, I had no intentions of buying the first one because I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. And lo and behold, both Wolfenstein and Wolfenstein 1 are on Game Pass now, so now I can play them back to back. So that's good. That's good. I'm delighted about that. So I'm currently playing Wolfenstein, The New Order, and it's really good. Now, I'm not a PC gamer. I am playing Wolfenstein on Xbox, but because I played so much of Half-Life and Half-Life 2 on PC and beat them, I'm so used to using a mouse and keyboard that going back and playing a first-person shooter on console is a little bit jarring. I'll get used to it. I'll be fine. It's just I see now what they mean when they say that using a mouse and keyboard is much more accurate than using a game controller. I definitely see where they're coming from with that opinion, and I can see the appeal, and I've experienced it and I very much enjoy it. But I want to be able to do both. I know I'm not stupid. I should be able to use a controller, and I'm getting used to it. But Wolfenstein: The New Order, it's a good game. It's wacky. It's so crazy. It's basically what would happen if the Nazi regime, what if the Nazis won World War II? That's basically what Wolfenstein is. And it's also an alternative future as well, so there is technology being used here. There's robots, there's robot dogs, there's all sorts of other shit that I haven't seen yet, but I'm playing that at the minute, and there's a couple of other games I'm playing as well, but I'll get to that when I get to that. But yeah, so Bethesda have released a bunch of games on Game Pass on both PC and Xbox, and that is just couldn't be timed better for me because I'm really enjoying Wolfenstein at the minute. Yeah. Speaking of Fallout 76, new content for Fallout 76 was announced. Now, look, I was one of the many naysayers in this game, against this game, and say what you want nowadays. It does look like Bethesda have turned it around somewhat since its horrible launch, and just like Sea of Thieves, it's nice they've stayed with it. And this new Brotherhood of Steel DLC called Steel Rain looks like a fairly good addition to the game. I'm happy people are still enjoying it. And they also added the Pit. The Pit is back. Now, if you don't know what the Pit is, you will know if you watched the presentation and you saw it be announced for Fallout 76. Now, you'll see that if you didn't play Fallout 3, you probably won't even have a clue what's going on here. But the Pit was originally an expansion location for Fallout 3, and it's basically set in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And the Pit in Fallout 3 was quite dark, if I remember correctly. Quite dark. And all I remember about it was picking up loads of iron ingots. That's all I remember about that, but I remember I enjoyed it. I spent a lot of time in it. But they're bringing it back for Fallout 76, so I think that's a cool new addition for that game. Because that was a location, like I said, it was a location in Fallout 3 you could explore on an expansion pack. I couldn't say much about the Elder Scrolls Online. As I said in my last episode of my podcast, MMOs, not my jam. But it's still good that they're supporting it. It recently came out for PS5 and Series X, and it's pretty cool now that it's also on Game Pass. Party Animal. It looks cute and funny, but it looks like a streamer game. This is the kind of game you would play on Twitch and never outside of that ecosystem. I'm a big fan of Kinda Funny, the company, so I expect them to dive into this for their Twitch channel. So if I'm going to see this game in action in any capacity, it's probably going to be via that channel. But Party Animal doesn't look like my kind of game. Hades is coming to Xbox and Game Pass, which is brilliant for people who were waiting for that. Somerville. Now, Somerville stood out to me because when that trailer first started, I thought it was Playdead's new IP until I realised I misread the information. It's actually being created by Jumpship, which is headed... Now, if you look at Somerville, it's a very moody side-scroller, and it just reminds me of Limbo and Inside the way it's designed. And it kind of makes sense seeing the developers for this, right? So it's headed by Dino Patti, who was the co-founder of Playdead. And now that I think about it, it kind of makes sense why the studio is called Jump Ship. Now, I don't know what their relationship is with each other, Playdead and Jump Ship, so I couldn't really possibly say. But we don't have a third game by Playdead yet, but I will take Somerville at least. So I cannot wait to see more of this game. Cannot wait to see more. And then Halo Infinite was brought into the mix. And based on games I was already aware of, probably one of my most anticipated games for this conference. There's a grappling hook in it. You can grab weapons and ammo with it as well. That's quite cool. Story-wise, I haven't got a clue what's going on, but apparently Cortana has been deleted, which is criminal. Now, I don't know why they did this, and there's something in Halo 5 that I missed. I don't know. But this replacement for Cortana, now, I'm probably overthinking this, but looking at her, is this Microsoft and 343 Industries being a little bit woke here? Did they deliberately make this replacement Cortana modest? And like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck personally, but I remember what Cortana looked like. She looked a particular way, very revealing. But this one is a little bit more modest than Cortana, so I don't know if that was a deliberate choice. I don't know. I'm probably overthinking it, but I'll be interested to see what the story is regarding Cortana and this replacement. So, yeah. Multiplayer. We got a multiplayer trailer. It's going to run in 120 frames on Series X. Free to play as well. It's coming out around Christmas time 2021. So, I'll definitely try it out if I get a chance. I don't know if Halo Infinite's coming to Xbox One. I would imagine it is. Because I think every game that comes out on Xbox Series X is backwards compatible with Xbox, or forwards compatible with Xbox One. I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, it looks good. It looks good. I'm really very much excited to play Halo Infinite. I really need to start playing Halo 5 Guardians. I completely stopped after Halo 4 for some reason. But I'll get back to it eventually. Diablo 2 remastered or resurrected. It's going to be in 4K. It's going to have 8-player co-op, and it's coming out on the 23rd of September. But it's not on Game Pass. It's not on Game Pass. But if I can convince my fiancé to play it with me, I will buy it day one. Maybe. Speaking of Game Pass, A Plague Tale Requiem is coming to Game Pass. Now, I have the original game on my to play list. It looks good. It's one of those adventure games, I think, again. I don't remember. But my wife has it, my fiancée has it on PS... No, she doesn't actually. She doesn't have it. I thought she did. I misread it then. I think I have it on Steam. Or I might have it on PlayStation Plus. I have this game somewhere. Apart from Game Pass, I have it somewhere, definitely. But it's an action-adventure, survivor, horror, stealth game. Oh, I thought it was an adventure game. Developed by Asobo Studio. And they were responsible for not the best games, I have to say. I suppose they were involved in the development of the new Microsoft Flight Simulator. I suppose that's decent. The Crew 2 for Windows PC. Most of their games are on Windows PC. But their games are not that great. But the Plague Tale Innocence, I've heard quite good things about it. So that looks like a standout for them. And there's making A Plague Tale Innocence, like I said, is already on my to play list. And the second one is going to be on Game Pass as well, so I'll have no excuse. I'll get to play both of those games at some point. Far Cry 6 showed off a new trailer. I'm the type of person that when I see a Far Cry trailer, I don't tend to pay much attention to it until the game comes out, and then I'll just buy it and go in blind. Because they tend to show a lot of those games before they come out, and I'm not that type of gamer. I don't really like to indulge in every single thing a game has to offer before it comes out, and then I go and buy it. I like to surprise myself. And that's what I'm doing with Far Cry 6. I did it with Far Cry 5, and I got that on day one, and I really enjoyed it. So I want to do the same thing for Far Cry 6. So I didn't really pay much attention to the Far Cry 6 trailer, but I am looking forward to playing it. Slime Rancher 2, day one on Game Pass. I never heard of this game. Never heard of it. So I had no idea there was a first one. No idea. But when did the first one come out? I've never heard of this game. Slime Rancher. It's a first-person life simulation adventure game published and developed by Monome Park and was released as an early access title on PC, PS4 and Xbox One before... Okay, so it came out around 2017, 2018. I never heard of it, but they're making a sequel, and it's going to be day one on Game Pass. And it was nominated for a lot of awards on the original, like... It was nominated for Best Indie Game, Xbox Game of the Year, Best Debut Indie Game for the Game Awards, Original Action, Best Original Action, Best Debut Game for the BAFTA. Okay, so it's got a following. It looks like a nice casual chill out game, so I reckon I might like this. Yeah, I might give it a look. Shredders is another game that got announced. I'm not a huge fan of snowboarding games. I've played them and I've enjoyed them. SSX is fun, and I've played Sean Palmer's snowboarding as well, but I'm not properly into them. You know, I mean, Shredders, it looks good, but it seemed a bit slow for me. But at least it's on Game Pass this December, so I can at least try it if it's available on Xbox One. Atomic Heart. This game looked rather trippy. It looks weird. It's an upcoming RPG developed and published by Mundfish. Never heard of Mundfish, but I think I've heard of Atomic Heart before. Now, was this an announcement? I think it's coming out for PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series, Windows PC. It's another FPS game with action role-play and game elements, so I don't know. It looks alright, but I'm starting to see a pattern with this press conference. There's a lot of first-person shooter games being announced. You know, from Back 4 Blood, Stalker 2, Sea of Thieves. I know it's not a first-person shooter, but it's first-person perspective and you can use guns. Fallout 76, fucking Halo Infinite, Far Cry 6, Atomic Heart now. A few other games were announced and showed off, such as Replaced. This looks ridiculously good. I'm a sucker for moody side-scrollers, just like the other one that was announced. What was it called? Somerville. So I love the tone, I love the music, I love the style, I love the visuals, and it's day one on Game Pass as well, which is just icing on the cake. Grounded got a new update. I never played it. I'm not really interested in it. It's not my kind of game, but meh, not my cup of tea. Looks interesting, but not for me. Among Us, I'm sorry, I will not be talking about this. I am not interested in Among Us whatsoever. But at least it's coming to Game Pass, so if you're a fan of it and you're on Xbox, there you go. Okay, forgive me for trying to pronounce this, but Ayuden Chronicles. I like the visuals. Very much looks like Octopath Traveler's style of visuals. Now, I don't know if Octopath Traveler were the first game to have this visual style, but a couple of other games are starting to copy it, including this one, and the next game by the same people that made Octopath Traveler. Okay, so that looks good. The Ascent looks like a top-down twin-stick shooter coming July 29th on Game Pass, which is the day after my birthday. I might try it. Age of Empires 4. Now, I love that they didn't go mental with the style. I'm happy. It still looks like an Age of Empires game of old. I'm not a die-hard fan of the series, but I am a fan of real-time strategy games, so this is definitely down my street. It's coming October 28th for Game Pass on PC, and I might try it. And Outer Worlds 2. Yes, yes, yes. Day one on Game Pass. Loved the first game. Cannot wait for this one. This announcement is definitely what has probably swayed me into getting an Xbox Series X whenever I decide to get it. I am so excited for the Outer Worlds 2. I adored the first one. I adored it. I can't wait for this one. Definitely increasing my chances of deciding on getting an Xbox Series X over a PS5. I will definitely get an Xbox Series X eventually, just to get Outer Worlds 2. Absolutely. Cannot wait for that. So excited. Oh, so happy. Flight Simulator coming to Series X on Game Pass this July. And also included a Top Gun Maverick expansion. Now, I was watching this via the Kinda Funny live stream Twitch channel, and they're all big fans of Top Gun, so they lost their shit at this announcement. But me personally, I've never even watched Top Gun. I know that sounds like sacrilege to some people, but not that I don't think it looks shite. I just never watched it. You know, there's some games, films that I never watched, and Top Gun's one of them. So it's cool that it's getting a Top Gun expansion. Forza Horizon 5. I'm shocked. I was expecting the new Forza Motorsport by Turn 10 Studios. I'm still happy. Like, now it's set in Mexico. Unsurprisingly, it looks stunning. Definitely a fine showcase for the power of Xbox Series X. Kind of annoyed at the stream in general that was shown, because the quality of the video looked horrendous. Like, whenever it showed a car driving through a forest or water, the particle effects was causing the stream to drop to a pixelated mess. Like, it's funny as well. Like, it's funny. The one game they show to show off the graphical prowess of the console, it's the worst looking video. But the creme de la creme here is it's available day one on Game Pass, which is fantastic. Game Pass, Xbox, killing it here. Absolutely killing it. Redfall, a new title by Arcane Studios, the same people that done Dishonored, I want to say. It looks like a hero shooter, going by first impressions, but I could definitely be wrong. Either that or it's another Left 4 Dead style of game. I'm interested to see what else this game has to offer, but I'll probably forget all about it. It's coming summer 2022, which is a fucking whole year away, but it will be the game day one on Game Pass, so there's that at least. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the Xbox and Bethesda showcase. It's definitely making me rethink what console I want to get next. This is Sony's move to beat out Microsoft this year. I love my PS4 and I love my Xbox One, and I always intended on getting a PS5 and an Xbox Series X. Not at the same time, one first, one next. But it was always going to be a PS5 first. At least. Now I'm not so sure. Like, the games that are due to come out for Xbox this year alone is making me rethink what I might get or what I want to get. This was an absolute banger of a conference. Absolute banger of a conference. And also, they're making a fridge. Xbox are actually making a fridge to... I suppose this is obviously to embrace the meme that was the shape of the Xbox Series X in general, and that it looked like a fridge. Xbox killed it. Xbox absolutely killed it. Brilliant. Okay, let's talk about Square Enix. Oh dear me, oh dearie me, oh dearie me, oh dearie me. This is bad. Okay, so originally, right, I didn't watch it at first, but I remember browsing Twitter while it was on. I knew it was on, but I couldn't watch it because I was doing other things. But at the time, I was actually... So I wasn't watching it, but what I was doing is I was on Twitter, and I was just refreshing Twitter every 5 minutes or so, just to see what the general reaction was. And at that point, I was thinking it like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, or maybe 20 minutes had gone at this point, and I'm like, everyone seems to be a little bit bored going by these tweets. And by the time the 40 minutes were up, everyone almost universally did not like this press conference. They were not happy whatsoever. So I decided to go back and just briefly look at the press conference and just see what they announced. And I went on to Square Enix's official, I think, channel. I think it was their official channel. I don't remember. Let me just double check. Yes, it was Square Enix's official YouTube channel where they presented their summer showcase. And nobody liked this, right? So here's what they announced. They spent about 7 minutes talking about the new Guardians of the Galaxy game, which they announced. This was a brand new game that they revealed, and they went through the trailer, they went into the deep dive, and they went into the gameplay. And I suppose that's not too bad. That wasn't too bad. You know, you announce a new game, you're going to show the gameplay, whatever, okay? Whatever, right? But then, immediately following that, now they spent, okay, I said they spent about 7 minutes, no, they spent about 7 minutes talking about the trailer and the deep dive, but the gameplay lasted a full 10 minutes, okay? Personally, I think that's way too long to be talking about one single solitary game, especially with the games that you omitted during this press conference. I digress, let's move on. The next game they announced was the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. And at first, I read this and I was excited. I was so excited. I'm like, finally, we're getting the Final Fantasy collection from 1 through 6 remastered for modern systems. This is what most Final Fantasy fans have been clamouring for a long time. You know, a way to play all the old games in one package on a new console with trophies, with achievements. I've always wanted this, right? I'm not a diehard Final Fantasy fan, but I am a very appreciative I appreciate the Final Fantasy series. I've got a lot of time for them. I really like them. As games, they're fantastic. And I've played 1. I didn't play all of it, but I played a lot of it. I played a lot of 2, again, not all of it. I've played a bit of 3, like the Japanese version. I played a bit of that. I played a portion of 4. I didn't really play 5. I've played a good chunk of Final Fantasy 6. I've still to go back and beat that, but I'm really enjoying it, and I understand why everyone loves the original 6 Final Fantasy games. They are timeless. They have aged wonderfully. They're good. They're really, really good. I really like them. And I've always wanted to be able to play all these games with the potential of playing back-to-back on modern systems. I'm going way off topic. Let's get to the meat of this particular topic. Now, like I said, Final Fantasy got a pixel remaster. And the trailer basically showed this. So the video starts by showing Pixel Remaster and then Final Fantasy coming up, and then it shows a portion of the original Final Fantasy game with gameplay, and then it starts the games that inspired generations to come. No. And then it showed this thing that said, the games that inspired a generation come to life once more. The origins of Final Fantasy series return in the ultimate 2D pixel remaster. 6 tales of epic adventure. 6 masterpieces to bridge the ages. Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 2. Final Fantasy 3. Final Fantasy 4. Final Fantasy 5. Final Fantasy 6. Coming soon to Steam and mobile. Like, the ultimate kick in the face. And the worst part about it is that it was arguably the shortest trailer of this entire E3 presentation by Square Enix. Their shortest trailer was for their biggest franchise. And that shows a lot about Square Enix and basically how tone deaf they are when it comes to the legacy of Final Fantasy and the fans of that legacy. The fans of the original games, they don't really care about them. They don't care about Final Fantasy. This much was obvious. Now, don't get me wrong, they did show off eventually War of the Visions, Final Fantasy, Brave, Exvius. I think that's what it said. And it is what it is. You know, it's this limited collaboration of whatever the fuck it was, but it was for mobile again. And then they showed a little bit of it for the 5th anniversary. And honestly, it's a little ridiculous. Because then they went off and showed The First Soldier, which again is a mobile game. And then they went off to show, I mean, in between all that, they showed The Legend of Mana, they showed Marvel's Avengers, they showed the expansion for Marvel's Avengers, they showed Hitman Sniper The Shadows. Nothing on Hitman 3. In fact, no, I take that back. Hitman 3 is probably already out. I don't remember. But they showed bits of footage for the new reincarnation of Nier, which I think is a remake of the original Nier. Now, I could be wrong. No, of course not. It's a fucking mobile game again. You see, I'm looking at this in real time because, again, I didn't get time to watch the entire presentation. And while I was writing up the writing up the notes for this podcast, I realised that, oh god, I didn't talk about Square Enix's presentation, so I'm going to go through it right now. And at the moment, all I'm seeing is nonsense about Guardians of the Galaxy, this Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, Legend of Mana, Marvel's Avengers, Hitman Sniper The Shadows, Nier Reincarnation for mobile, War of Visions, Brave Exvius again, Final Fantasy VII, The First Soldier, all mobile games. And I think the only interesting game that they showed out of all of that, maybe, was Babylon's Fall. And Babylon's Fall is a co-op game that's coming out, but the problem there is that it's a live service game. And there's, they showed the trailer and then they showed an interview for Babylon's Fall. And then they showed the Life is Strange Remastered Collection. Now that I would be personally interested in. I've seen my fiance play Life is Strange, and it looks like I would enjoy it. It's a very deep story type of game. It's, you know, I think I would like that. But I'm looking at the trailer right now, and I'm praying to fucking Christ, this Life is Strange trilogy or whatever the fuck it's called, Remastered Collection, is not coming to mobile. That's what I'm worried about. No, it's coming to PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X. Okay, that's good. So I've got a way to go back and play this game in a better format. So that would be good, because from what I've seen, it looks good. So, and then there was this Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, which is another Final Fantasy game, which is not out yet. It's coming out next year, and it's basically, it's done by Team Ninja, which is interesting because Team Ninja are the same people that done what was it, Ninja Gaiden, Dead or Alive, and Neo and Neo 2. Now Neo and Neo 2 are very particular types of games. They are what you would call a Souls-like, a game that plays very much like the Dark Souls franchise. And I'm thinking that's what Stranger of Paradise is going to be. Now, I'm all for that. Apparently what it does is it's a retelling of the original Final Fantasy game. A little bit darker than what the original Final Fantasy game is. So I'd be interested in that. But nevertheless, a little 4-minute trailer of this Final Fantasy Origin, Life is Strange Remastered, and like Nier Reincarnation. Okay, those games are interesting. I would be interested in playing that. However, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. Nothing on Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. Nothing on that. Not even a teaser. You know? They're focusing on remastering the original episode 1. I don't know if they're doing that to just cover everything or to like bridge a gap. I mean, if they're not ready to show the next chapter of Final Fantasy VII Remake, then fine. But at the very least, tell us how you're getting on with it, because we don't know how long we're going to be waiting for that game to come out. But this just reads as tone deaf from Square Enix with all this mobile shit. Almost half of their press conference was mobile games. And that is bad. That is bad. The core demographic for all these games are not mobile gamers. And that begs the question. How many people... Now, I'm not saying mobile games are something you should not be playing. If you like mobile games, that's fine. But I can't imagine that is the majority demographic of gamers as a whole. Now, just because everyone owns a mobile phone doesn't mean you're automatically a gamer. And I think that's what Square Enix is getting themselves mixed up with here. They think, well, everyone has a mobile phone, so why not capitalise on that? Sorry, I've got reflux. So why not capitalise on that and make most of our games for mobile? The Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster is what's winding me up the most. That's what's winding me up the most, because I'm very disappointed in this. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, it's going to be available on Steam. I need to get a good look at it first before I even consider buying it on Steam. But at the same time, Steam is not where I want to sit and play my Final Fantasy games. It's not. You know, I would rather hook up a legacy system and go through all that effort to play it that way than do that. Than play it on Steam. I really would. I don't want to sit hunched over a computer and play it that way. Not a game of that size. I'm sorry. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I'm currently trying to search for it on Steam right now and it's not showing up. So obviously it's not available to preload or anything on Steam. So I don't know when it's coming out. I must have missed that part. That's alright, I'll search for it right this minute. So I'm going to Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. And it's coming out to Steam and blah 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 blah. Coming soon. Doesn't say when, just coming soon. Okay. Fine. They're so proud of this. They wear this like a badge of honour. Look what we're making. Yeah, look what you're making. But you're ignoring the legacy of Final Fantasy. You're ignoring the fans of this series that would have played it way back in the 80s and early 90s and mid 90s. You know, people that have been loyal to your games franchise from the very beginning. You are kicking them into the dirt and saying you don't matter anymore. We're all about the new people that are playing games. We want it. No, it doesn't work like that. You can make it for mobile, you can make it for Steam, but make it available to console. You purposely remastered everything about these games. You didn't just port them. This isn't a simple port. You went into effort to make these remasters, and you purposely decided not to release them on console. Why? You're releasing them on Steam. Why are you not releasing them on console? That is absolutely crazy. I don't understand that. It's probably the only thing about Square Enix's press conferences that has wound me up the most. Not only for the fact that they've focused a lot on Marvel shite that I don't even think has nearly as big a fan base as they think they do. But whatever. I just think this is ridiculous. So far, in my opinion, Square Enix have really fucked it when it comes to E3 this year. They really have. Ugh, well. Right. I think I'm done complaining about this because I'm going to end up putting myself in a bad mood. But there it is. Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. Nothing on Final Fantasy 16. And again, nothing on Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 2. Like, why nothing on Final Fantasy 16? You made this big announcement last year that you were making, or this year, that you were making Final Fantasy 16, and I lost my shit. I loved Final Fantasy 15, and I was so looking forward to the sequel being made. So much so that I thought that Project Aria game that was being released the I thought that was a working title for the next Final Fantasy game. I was very much anticipating Final Fantasy 16, especially during E3. I wanted to see more of that game, but obviously you've got better plans. You've got the mobile market to look after, which is bloody ridiculous. It's tone deaf. Read the room, Square Enix. Read the room. And that's enough of that. I didn't watch the PC Gaming Showcase. There's nothing about the PC Gaming Showcase that I was particularly interested in, because I'm not primarily a PC gamer, so it didn't interest me at all. Now, I know that Verizon and Intellivision had a showcase. I didn't look at it. I don't know what Verizon is, but Intellivision, now, that's an interesting one, because Intellivision is an old company. Like, particularly a console company. It made the Intellivision home computer game system back in the early 80s or late 70s. So the fact that they actually had a press conference at E3 was was interesting. So I don't know what it is they did. Apparently they announced a new console called the Amico, and I'm just going to briefly look at it. This is on GamesBeat or VentureBeat.com, and so here's what they've done. Let me see. The Amico is going to have a handful of games that include Earthworm Jim, Night Stalker, Incan Gold, Shark, Spades, Cornhole, Astro Smash, Retro Reimagined, Breakout, Asteroids, Tempest, Missile Command, Burger Time, Bump and Jump, Cloudy Mountain, Sesame Street, Care Bears, Finnegan Fox, Bomb Squad, oh god, Bomb Squad, Space Strikers, Rigid Force Redux Enhanced, Dino Blaster, Major League Baseball, Blank Slate, Telestrations, and Flying Tigers. And it says here, the brands making games for the Amico include Hot Wheels and the Harlem Globetrotters, and there will be games based on charades, soccer, pool, card games, skiing, and more. And also said the original Echo the Dolphin team are creating a new game called Dolphin Quest. So it seems like it's just a new retro-inspired console, similar to that of the mini consoles that we've been getting. That's what it sounds like anyway. But it's coming in two formats. It's coming in a white glossy format, and it's also coming in like a wood style as well, like a wood panel. It looks weird, but if anyone's an Intellivision fanatic, then I guess this is for them. It's not particularly for me. The Intellivision was way before my time. But that's cool. Take-Two also did a panel, I think, but apparently they didn't actually do any game announcements. Apparently Take-Two's live stream was mainly for those businessy people. And according to GameSpot, it says here, rather than trailers and reveals, the GTA publisher Take-Two put on a corporate accountability panel on equity and inclusion. So I'm not going to talk about that. That sounds like fucking nonsense. So no. So Intellivision and Take-Two, Intellivision beats them out. That's for sure. Now, the Indie Showcase was a showcase that I was particularly interested in because I was hoping, I was hoping that I would see something along the lines of Playdead's next IP alongside Limbo and Inside. I thought I was going to see their third game. I don't think we've seen it. I don't know if we did. I'm just going to run down every title that was shown off during E3's indie game showcase. Now, these are all just lists here. So there was Lifeslide, which is apparently a flight game that puts players in control of a paper airplane. There's also Hooded Horse, which is I read that wrong. Hooded Horse is the name of the developer, and they're releasing a game called Falling Frontier, and also releasing Terra Invicta and something else, Alliance of the Sacred Sun. So 3 games. One of them's a real-time strategy, One is a 4X strategy game, and Terra Invicta is a grand strategy game. So that's pretty cool. The next game that was announced was a crime noir first-person shooter game called Fallen Aces, which has a 2D comic book style and adds in a unique flair to all the shooting and brawling. And then there was Lars Knots, which was made by Impulse Gear, which is a new hero shooter that has two teams struggling for control of a small drone. And this one stood out to me. Toy Soldiers HD, an updated version of the original game to modern consoles, which includes every piece of DLC as well as new levels that were not included in the original game. It's coming out on August 2021 for PS4, Xbox One, Switch and PC, and you can be damn sure that the PS4 and Xbox One versions are also going to be playable on PS5 and Xbox Series X and X, S and X respectively. Another game that was announced was Moo Lander, which is a 2D game that has players controlling both a small UFO and mutant cows. And there's even a 4-player multiplayer. Moo Lander is targeting a spring 2022 release date. And then there was Bio Interstellar Bark, which is a 4-person side-scrolling shoot-'em-up with a colourful art style, coming to Nintendo Switch and PC, but does not have a release date. And then there was Tunguska The Visitation, which is a moody twin-stick shooter and has players sneaking through the exclusion zone. Tense atmosphere and host of survival elements look like it will make Tunguska a tense experience. And then there was Nico Ghost Jump, which is a platformer that has the unique feature of letting players switch between 2D and 3D. And then the last title that was shown at the Indie press conference was Extra Galactica, which is a 2D pixel art title that has players protecting the world from an alien menace while also fighting for their right to play football. That sounds ridiculous, but it looks crazy. But Toy Soldiers HD is definitely the one that stood out to me. I loved the original game. I have it on my Xbox 360, also playable on Xbox One. But it'll be nice to see that get a little bit of a visual touch-up, so that'll be a good one to play. And Capcom also had a press conference. Now, Freedom Games had a press conference as well, as did Limited Run Games, but I don't know who Freedom Games are. I've never heard of them, so I couldn't possibly comment on their showcase. But everyone's heard of Capcom. And I think their showcase wasn't supposed to be that great either. In fact, if anything, it's on the par with Ubisoft's press conference, which I didn't watch, and Square Enix's press conference, which was apparently rubbish as well. So I'm just going to briefly look at Capcom's E3 press conference. And they announced Resident Evil Village. They had new information on the game, meaning everyone who purchased Resident Evil Village will gain access to the Reverse, which launches in July, and new DLC is currently in development for Resident Evil Village. A new story trailer for Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin, was shown. I'm not a massive Monster Hunter fan, but if anyone's interested in that, then more power to you. Monster Hunter Rise got their new 3.1 update for Nintendo Switch. The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which was never released outside of Japan, and it follows Phoenix Wright's ancestor, Ryonosuke Naruhodo. I think I pronounced that properly. And together with his partner Herlock Sholmes, Ryonosuke must prove himself a capable lawyer throughout a variety of puzzles. I'm not a massive Ace Attorney fan, but I can see why people might like that one. But that's coming out on July the 27th. And then they did some esports stuff with Street Fighter 5. So Capcom, pretty piss poor, have to say. Even though they've been killing it with their games, the press conference itself, not that great. But I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest. Now, for those of you who haven't heard of Limited Run Games are a publishing company that specialise in releasing physical versions of games that are otherwise digital only. And they have garnered a massive following in the video game industry. They were founded in 2015, about 6 years ago. And like I said, they specialise in releasing physical versions of otherwise exclusively digital games for a limited time, mostly. And they are fantastic. I love them. Now, I only have one game by them. I have the Streets of Rage 4 Limited Collector's Edition, which was published by Limited Run Games. Other companies published a physical version as well. It's not just Limited Run Games that are doing this. There's also there's a British one as well called Super Rare Games as well. They do a very similar thing to Limited Run, but Limited Run would be the most famous, I would say. But they announced an absolute heap of games that they're releasing in physical format, and it's absolutely mental what they did for E3 this year. And everyone's saying that Limited Run Games won the show, but here is what they announced throughout their E3 press conference. So as part of E3 21, this is on siliconera.com, and all the list is here. As part of E3 2021, Limited Run Games held a briefing looking at over 25 new games on its docket. The mix of old and new titles will all show up in 2021 and beyond. And here is a full list of everything that came up. These are all the new games Limited Run Games discussed during its E3 2021 presentation. Each one will get a physical release and in some case a limited edition in addition to that. Note that if Xbox One, Xbox Series X and PC are listed, that is because digital versions of those games are on the way. So here's the games that they announced. Axiom Verge 2 is getting a physical version, which is coming out on PS4, PS5 and Switch. Blood Rain Betrayal, Fresh Bites, is getting a physical edition. These are all physical editions, by the way, so they may or may not already be out, or they may be coming out. Castlevania Requiem for PS4, Castlevania Rondo of Blood for the Turbo Duo, Contra Anniversary Collection for PS4 and Switch, Double Dragon Kunio-kun Brawler Bundle for PS4 and Switch, Dusk for PS4 and Switch, Going Under for PS4 and Switch, Haven for PS4, PS5 and Switch, Huntdown for Switch, One Step from Eden for PS4 and Switch, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties for PS4, PS5, Switch and PC. That is a relic. An absolutely terrible game, but I'm all for it, whatever. Republic for PS4, PSVR and Switch, Retromania Wrestling for PS4 and Switch, River City Girls for PS5. River City Girls 2 got announced, and I did not know that. I love River City Girls, love it. I didn't beat it yet, but I've gotten a fair bit of progress into it. It's a fantastic brawler, amazing graphics. I love it. I'm so happy that there's a second one coming out, and that's going to be coming to PS4, PS5, Switch, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and PC. And obviously, it's getting a physical edition. And then there's River City Girls 0 for Nintendo Switch. I can't pronounce this. I don't know if this is an acronym or initials, but RWBY, Grim Eclipse for PS4 and Switch, Shantae 1 through 5 for PS5, Skatebird for PS4 and Switch, Strife for Switch, Super Hot for Switch, The Takeover for PS4 and Switch, and Zombie Ate My Neighbours and Ghoul Patrol on Switch. These are all games that are getting not only digital versions, but physical versions as well, and I'm all for it. These are absolutely fantastic announcements. Limited Run Games did very good during their press conference. And then we got the Nintendo Direct for E3. And this was definitely one of my most anticipated presentations for this week, because there was a lot of things I was waiting for or hoping for. You know, I was hoping for news on the Nintendo Switch's new revision. The Nintendo Switch Pro, as everyone likes to call it. But Unfortunately, we got nothing like that. Unfortunately, it was nothing to do with the Switch Pro, but we did get game announcements. Games was all we got for this Direct. Nothing, no hardware related, but we might get it eventually. I feel it coming close. The Switch Pro announcement. I don't want to call it the Switch Pro. I think it's going to be called the Switch XL or the new Nintendo Switch. I don't think it's going to be called Switch Pro. If they call it Switch Pro, I'll be very surprised. Nintendo don't like to copy other people. We already have a PlayStation 4 Pro. Switch will not call it, Nintendo will not call it the Nintendo Switch Pro. They will not call it that. I digress. Now, let's move on to the games that they did announce for this Direct, and some of them are very much exciting. They started it off by talking about Smash Brothers, and basically they showed a trailer showing Kazuya Mishima from Tekken, and he's coming to Super Smash Brothers. And the way they showed the trailer was quite funny. Near the end of the trailer, he just threw a bunch of Nintendo characters off this mountain, off this volcanic mountain. And if you don't get the reference, it's a bit of a spoiler, I guess, if you're not a Tekken fan. But anyway, in the Tekken franchise, particularly at the end of Tekken 1 or Tekken 2, I want to say, Kazuya Mishima, a major character in that franchise, in the end of Tekken 1, going into Tekken 2, he is thrown off a volcano by his father, Heihachi Mishima, and he comes back at the start of Tekken 2, but he comes back with some sort of possessed entity attached to him called the Devil Gene, and that's how you get Devil Kazuya, which you probably saw in that trailer. So that's a famous scene from the old Tekken games, is Heihachi throwing Kazuya off the volcanic mountain. And then I think at the end of Tekken 2 or starting of Tekken 3 or 4, I'm not saying, Kazuya actually throws Heihachi off of the mountain. Now, I don't know if that's canon or if it's just one of the endings you get when you beat the game as him, but anyway, I digress. So yeah, Kazuya Mishima coming to Super Smash Bros. I'm really happy about it, even though I barely play Super Smash Bros. But I do get excited seeing all of these announcements for the game, these new characters. It does give me incentive to go back and play it again to get more characters unlocked and maybe buy the season pass or whatever it is they call it. But he joins the likes of Terry Bogard from Fatal Fury and Ryu from Street Fighter. Now, I did see Heihachi in that trailer, but I don't know if he comes in the form of I don't remember what they're called. You don't play as them, but they appear in some way. I can't remember what the name of them are. Whatever they're called, I suppose you can correct me later on. But anyway, Life is Strange is coming to Nintendo Switch remastered. It includes the aforementioned remastered collection that was announced, and the new one, Life is Strange True Colors, which is coming out September 10th. They're all coming to Nintendo Switch. Now, speaking of the Life is Strange franchise, the remastered collection, now, does that include... You see, you're calling it the Life is Strange remastered collection, and you're bundling it on the Switch, and then you're going to bring out Life is Strange True Colors, but you did not mention Life is Strange 2. Does the Life is Strange remastered collection come with Life is Strange 2? I want to know. Did I read it properly? I'm on Eurogamer.net figuring it out, and all they keep talking about is the True Colors. Oh wait, the Life is Strange remastered collection will also be available as part of the Ultimate Edition of... Nope. The Ultimate Edition of Life is Strange True Colors comes bundled with the remastered collection. Oh, that's good to know. But I want to know, is the remastered collection... Oh, Steam will definitely tell me. Steam will definitely tell me. The Life is Strange... Blah, blah, blah... Okay. Life is Strange Remastered Collection includes Life is Strange Remastered and Life is Strange Before the Storm Remastered. So no Life is Strange 2. That's interesting. So you're going to... Unless Life is Strange 2 is already out on the Switch, I could possibly well be wrong about that, I don't know. But Life is Strange, definitely a series I need to try out. Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania was announced, and it basically celebrates the 20th anniversary of Super Monkey Ball and basically bringing a bunch of these games to Nintendo Switch. I've never played Super Monkey Ball, but I've watched it from afar and it looks really, really fun. If there's any time for me to finally get those games, now would be the time. So if I do decide to get it, I'll get it on Switch. So there's that. It looks fun, looks really addictive. Mario Party Superstars is a new title in the Super Mario Party franchise, I guess. Apparently, it's a mix between a new party title and a remaster. The game will include 5 classic Mario Party boards from the Nintendo 64 era and 100 mini-games remastered in HD. So, I guess this is like a legacy version of Super Mario Party, I'm not sure, but Mario Party is a game that I would like to play, but I've no friends to play it with. I guess I've got my fiance, but is it fun with just 2 people? That's a question I could pose. Like, if you know the answer to that, you tell me. Is Super Mario Party fun with 2 or less people? Do I need more people to play it with? If you do need more people to play it with, then I guess I'm out of luck. Unless I find a stranger to play online with. Metroid Dread coming to Switch on October 8th, along with the option to buy an amiibo. Now here's what I didn't know about Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread is the 5th mainline Metroid game. So Metroid 5, as it were. A sequel to Metroid Fusion, which is the 4th one that came out on Game Boy Advance. Has technically been in development for, I want to say, 18 years? Maybe? Apparently it started development around 2004, 2005. And whatever happened, they just stopped developing it, and then we never heard from it for years, obviously, because now it just came out of nowhere. Here's Metroid Dread, that game that we started in 2005, and now it's here, 2022 or 2021. It's coming out on the 8th of October. You know, Metroid is another game, just like Super Monkey Ball or whatever it's called, you know, where a game series that I've watched from a distance and loved the look of them, but never dove into them properly. I have played the original Metroid, but only very briefly. I've got a good chunk of hours put into Super Metroid, sorry. I've got a good chunk of hours put into that, but I haven't went back to it in a long time. My progress is locked onto my Super Nintendo Classic. That's where I'm playing it. But I haven't went back to it in almost 2 years. But I like it. I really do enjoy it. So the Metroid series, I would definitely like to play them all back to back if I just had the right systems to play it on. But I respect the Metroid franchise. God, the Metroid franchise is one of the most influential game series ever, because it spawned a number of games that we would not see otherwise, like Symphony of the Night or any Metroidvania going forward. Metroid is a very much an important game in the history of the medium. But Metroid Dread looks fun, looks good, but I'm actually more drawn to the Metroid Prime games. I've got Metroid Prime Trilogy on the Wii, but it doesn't play very well. The controls are a little bit awkward. I keep hoping that those games will come to Switch in the form of a remaster, but we'll wait and see. But in the meantime, we have Metroid Dread, and it looks really good. That's coming out on the 8th of October. Cruis'n Blast. Never heard of it. Apparently it's a new game in a series of games called the Cruis'n series. I've never heard of it, but there you go. It's coming to Switch. What is cruising? When did that start? Oh, cruising! As in Cruising USA, Cruising World. Oh, right. Okay. That makes sense. The last one came out in 2017. It was called Cruising Blast. And then the one before that was 10 years. Was Cruising. It was just called Cruising. Oh, yeah, I definitely have heard of this then. I've heard of Cruising USA at the very least. That was a Nintendo 64 game back in the 90s. So it's that series. How did I not spot that? Okay, that makes sense. So they're bringing back Cruising again. Cruising Blast for the Nintendo Switch. Okay. I didn't know that. We got a WarioWare teaser trailer. I'm not a WarioWare fan. Micro games, not my thing. It looks like it, because I've got a short attention span. It would probably suit me that way. But no, I've never gone home from work and thought, oh, I'd love to play some WarioWare. No, not my cup of tea at all. Micro games, definitely not. Shin Megami Tensei 5 got announced. Again, a series I've looked at from the outside and loved the idea of them, but just cannot bring myself to play them. I mean, the Persona series, for a start, I can't get into it. Like, Persona 5. Let me just talk about Persona 5 very briefly. Believe it or not, I started Persona 5 Royal last year. Like, last spring or summer. And I recorded footage. I had a Let's Play series for that game ready to go. Because I was recording everything I was doing in that game. I recorded about 20 fucking videos. And they're still sitting in my YouTube library unpublished, because the reason why I haven't published them is because I haven't went back to the game, because the game is so goddamn fucking long. It's so long. And if I do go back to it, I'm probably not going to record it, because when you start recording games, you start playing a certain way that would make someone impatient. That's the way I play. I play in a way that would annoy people. And that's what I was worried about playing the Final Fantasy remake, 7 remake last year, because I've got my entire gameplay footage recorded for that. My whole experience with that game is on YouTube. You can watch that anytime. But it was stressful playing that, because now I feel like I've missed a lot of things in it because I spent too much time worrying about the recording. But the same goes with Persona 5. See, this is why I don't record games. This is why I don't record games that often anymore, because I play in a way that I don't normally play without it, and it stresses me out. I end up playing it for the wrong reasons. You know, I do Let's Plays, I do enjoy them, but sometimes I just like to play the game without recording it, and because then I can enjoy it naturally. But my point I'm making is that recording my games ruined Persona for me, and as such probably ruined the Shin Megami series on me as well. So I'm probably never going to play Shin Megami Tensei, but I do respect it. I do like the look of it. It looks fun, but not a game I want to sink my teeth into anytime soon. But who knows? You never know. Danganronpa Decadence. I've heard of this series. I'm not interested. Sorry about that. Moving on. Fatal Frame, Maiden of Blackwater. Now, this game originally came out on the Wii U, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just one of those games that died on Wii U, and then out of nowhere, here it is coming to Switch. That console, the Wii U, how is it not fucking obsolete at this point? You know, how many games are left on that to port over? The only reason I would buy a Wii U nowadays would probably just be an excuse to play my Wii games in the best possible way with an HDMI cable. That's the only reason I would buy a Wii U. Because I've got a Wii, but I can't connect it to anything at the minute because I've got a TV that only uses HDMI. Nightmare. I digress. Fatal Frame, Maiden of Blackwater. A scary game series I have no interest in playing, but I do like the look of it. What I do like the look of, and I probably definitely will be getting, is Advanced Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. Advanced Wars is that game series I saw but never got to play because I never had a Game Boy Advance. So I'm definitely going to play that one for the Switch when it comes out on December 3rd. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity got an expansion pass. Whoopie-dee-doo. If you're into that, then you'll be happy. I've got Hyrule Warriors 1, but I've barely played it. So, yeah, that's coming out on June the 18th. Today. It's out today. The expansion pass for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is out right now. And the next piece of DLC will be out in November. So, Pulse of the Ancients it's called. So there you go. Enjoy. The Legend of Zelda Game & Watch was announced as well. You see, this is one of these things that I would love to have, just to have, but probably never touch. Because I nearly got that Mario Game & Watch last year, but then I just thought, what's the fucking point in this? All waste of money. Because it's not... If you're a major Nintendo fan, a major Legend of Zelda / Mario fan, you'll probably be into this, but not for me. But it does look cool though, considering what it has. It's got the original Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, Link's Awakening, and a version of Vermin, which I've never heard of, along with a playable clock. So they're quite cool. But I'd imagine these are horrible ways to play those games. It's more of a novelty, really. But there you go. And then the creme de la creme of this conference, this direct, was the sequel to Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild 2, as we think it's going to be called. And it looks good. They definitely focused on the skyward aspect of it. I'm trying not to look at too much of it because I feel like I'm doing the original game a disservice because I haven't beaten it yet. I've played about 150 hours of Breath of the Wild, but I haven't beaten it. And it's a very long, drawn-out game if you let it be. But I feel like there's so much to do, but I'm the type of person that I want to make sure I've got everything at hand before I do the final boss. Because I know you can do the final boss at any point in that game. I know you can do it at any point, but I want to wait until I'm fully equipped and at least have all 4 Divine Beasts destroyed or done, finished. Anyway, never mind. Breath of the Wild 2, yeah, it looks good. They've definitely changed the look of Link. He looks a little bit more tribal than before. But, who knows? I can't say much about it because I would like to see gameplay. That's the major one. Like I said last week, the week before, one of the major features I'm hoping to see either not make a return or at least get fixed is the weapon durability mechanic. Last week or the week before, I said that I would want them to get rid of that entirely. Like, I don't want my weapons breaking all the fucking time. It's stressful. But if you're going to put weapon breaking in the game, make it like Skyrim or Dark Souls, where your weapon can break, but you can also repair it if you have the right materials. Give us that option at least. Don't just have them break and be like, hey, fuck you. You know? It's very, very stressful. Because it just makes... it turns the game into multiple games then. Like, you could be going off to do a quest and you think you're okay with the weapons you've got and then they just break on you and then you have to stop, run away, and then build up another arsenal of weapons to go back. And it's stressful. It's long. Oh god, it's so long. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't beaten the game, because it just takes up so much of your time. And I don't hate that. I just wish my time was respected. And you'd be surprised by how much time it takes to build up an arsenal of weapons for them to just break on you to go and do the same thing again. That's, it does push you to get the Master Sword, which does break, but it takes a little bit of time to repair itself, which I suppose is okay. But I don't know. I just hope they get rid of it or fix it. And give us better dungeons as well. Stop giving us copy pastes of the dungeons we had in Breath of the Wild. I know you can do better dungeons than that. So give us that. Like, the Divine Beasts were elaborate dungeons. I like that. Give us more of that, but make it part of the game. Better dungeons. Better dungeons and weapon durability tweaking. That's what I want. Okay. Right, that was the Nintendo Direct showcase. Now, as I speak on this episode, I also want to point out that we still have an EA press conference to happen in July. And Sony still may or may not present a state of play during the summer as well. So it's all about when they'll do it, or even if they'll do it. But let's hope. But apart from, I nearly stopped the podcast without talking about this as well. Apparently GameSpot done a Play for All conference, or is doing one. Now I don't know when they're doing it, because I'm on their website right now and it's an overload of information, so I don't know what the fuck is going on. So the GameSpot Play for All 2021 schedule, it's happening on or did it happen? Oh Jesus, no, it's been happening all month. I'm an idiot. I am such an idiot. Forgive me. Okay, they did Play for All live on the June 16th and June the 17th, and they spoke about, it's nothing I want to talk about at all. Never mind, it doesn't look like something I would be interested in talking about. I mean, I'm going through the schedule here, and it's basically interview. You know, Life is Strange interview, Streets of Rage 4 interview, Pete Hines from Bethesda interview. And speaking of Pete Hines, actually, this bugged me in a way that it shouldn't really bug anyone, but it bugged me. Pete Hines of Bethesda apologised for Starfield's Xbox exclusivity. Personally, there's no need to apologise. Exclusivity happens all the time. Companies buy developers all the time. Games become locked onto platforms every now and then. It happens. But at least Pete Hines acknowledged it and put it to bed. He didn't have to apologise though. But at least they had the decency to at least put Sony fans down gently. Look, if you want to play the next Fallout, or Elder Scrolls, or Starfield, you'll have to sign up for Xbox. It's that simple. Xbox games will be playable on xCloud at some point. Like on Xbox One, you'll be able to play Xbox Series X games via the cloud. How well that'll play, I don't know. But there'll always be a way for you to play those games if you really want to. But if you do really want to play those Bethesda games, support them. If your reason is none other than tribalism against one system in favour of your own, then you need to grow up. If it's a financial decision, like I said, there's xCloud. It's not going to be the best way to play any of those games, even with the best internet connection, but it's a way nevertheless. Obviously, this is also for those who do not want to buy a Series S or X, but still want to experience those games. You have options, people. But if you really want to support Bethesda and you really want to play those games, you've got a way of doing it. You know? If you have a PS5, then you have a PS5. Whatever it was you did to save up to get a PS5, if you can do it again to save up to get an Xbox Series X, do that. Or sell your PS5 to get a Series X. I'm sorry, I can't do so much defending, but if you don't, this is not new. PlayStation fans are not angry that we can't play Halo. We're not. We just accept it. Xbox fans, I don't know if they're angry about this, but they're not angry, as far as I'm concerned, to not be able to play Spider-Man. Because Marvel is owned by Sony. It just happens. Or at least the Spider-Man IP is owned by Sony. It's just the way it is. You know? Exclusivity is a thing. If you want it to die, then protest. I don't know what you want me to do. Or I don't know what you want them to do. Sorry, not me. Yeah. Look, it's a silly thing to get annoyed over. And what do you expect Pete Hines to do about it? It's just the way it is. And if anything, Xbox needs this. Xbox really needs this. Apart from this, they have been fucking killing it with their announcements in the last year. Absolutely, they're doing so well. And the Bethesda exclusivity deal is like icing on the cake, in my opinion. I think they're doing really well with that. So Xbox fans, if you wanted exclusive games, now you have them. Now you have them. Okay, now we've gotten all of that out of the way. Now I want to just end the show with what games I've been playing. And I've actually been playing a handful of games. I think the last game I mentioned that I was playing was Mass Effect 3. So I beat that. I beat it last week, or over the weekend. I platinumed it, which means I have platinumed Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3 back to back. So after I beat that, I was just looking for something else to play, and I found Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, which I briefly mentioned at the start of the video, or somewhere around there. Yeah, so I beat it. It's a shame that I didn't get the achievements that I should have gotten, but it's not a big deal. I'm over it. But I really enjoyed it. It's not a horror game per se. It's not a scary game, but it is very intense. It's anxiety inducing, and it's best played with headphones, I think. There's a lot of things that happen in that game that requires you to listen with headphones. Like, there are certain audio cues that if you weren't wearing headphones, you could play it without headphones if you wanted to, but the game is done in such a way where it's like binaural audio, so it's directional, the audio, so you need to listen from what direction the audio is coming from to solve some puzzles, and it's best played that way. And it's one of the most unique games I've played, specifically from the idea that it tackles, now I'm not going to be an advocate for this, so I'll try and talk about it as best as I can, but it tackles mental illness, and particularly psychosis, which the main character suffers from, and the voices that she hears in her head is part of all that. So it's all in her head, all this shit that she's experiencing, but it's very interesting, very engaging. And if you want to hear more about it, I recommend you look up the making of video for Hellblade, because there's an expert on that delves into the details surrounding why they decided to go with that aspect of the game. And yeah, the game itself is really fun, but it's stressful. My hands were sweating the whole time. It's anxiety inducing, but it's fun at the same time. I recommend it. Can't wait for the sequel. I just decided to watch the sequel. I get a trailer for the sequel recently again. The first time I seen the trailer was about a year ago or 2 years ago, and even though it's a pre-rendered cutscene, I still can't wait for it. I wonder what they do with it going forward. And then after I beat that, I decided to balance myself between two games. I decided to play Watch Dogs 2 and Wolfenstein. So I'll play Watch Dogs 2 for a few hours, and then I'll play Wolfenstein over on Xbox for a few hours. But then I just decided to lean more towards Watch Dogs 2, because I actually beat Watch Dogs 1 after beating Hellblade. You'd think, how did it take you so quick to do that? Truth be told, I started Watch Dogs way back in 2014 when it first came out, and it just took me 7 years to beat, or thereabouts. And truth be told, I just didn't. It was alright. It's a fun game, but it overstayed its welcome after a year. I didn't enjoy it that much. It was a novelty, being able to do the things you can do in the game, like hacking different things, but it gets repetitive after a while, doing the same thing over and over. Watch Dogs 2 alleviates some of those issues. Some of the missions are still repetitive, but most of them are quite creative as well. I'm playing that right now, and it's fun. I've already mentioned that I'm having a problem with popping a trophy, but I'm not going to let it destroy my enjoyment of the game. It's not the end of the world. I can always go back and try again, even though it will take me a good few hours to do so. But if I really want it, I'll get it. And so I'm balancing between trying to balance between Watch Dogs 2 and Wolfenstein, but I've leaned more towards Watch Dogs 2. Once I've beaten Watch Dogs 2, I'll probably go back to Wolfenstein and play through that, and then hopefully jump into the sequels after that as well. So that's what I've been doing in regards to playing games lately. Busy, man. Having a lot of fun. And that's just about it, I suppose. Yeah. Well. Anyway, I am exhausted from doing this. It's probably the longest episode of this podcast I've done that was based on... Okay, it's not the longest. I think I did one just as long as this a few weeks ago, months ago, but the only reason that one was so long was because I hadn't done an episode of the podcast for months, so I had a lot to regurgitate at that point, but this is only a week's worth of content talking here, so it's a lot. Normally my videos or podcast episodes are roughly an hour and change, but this is well over the 2 hour mark. I think I'm coming up to the 2 hour 30 minute mark, so I'm exhausted. I'm after putting this all together. I've probably made mistakes, I don't know, but I'm happy to get it done, and hopefully it's just back to the hour long episodes going forward. I know it's Friday the 18th of June. I normally try and get these out on a Sunday. I was intending on getting one out on a Sunday last week, but I says I'll wait until E3 has had its time in the sun before coming in and talking about it properly. And I don't know when the next episode is going to come out. Haven't got a clue. So we'll just wait and see. But nevertheless, if you got this far, then thanks very much. I really appreciate it. If you didn't, then obviously you're not watching or listening to this part of the episode. But nevertheless, if you got this far, thanks very much for taking the time to listen. And if you want to see more, you know exactly what to do. Go on to youtube.com/gamerboy, GAMERBHOY, to see my YouTube channel and all the stuff I put up on there. You can follow me on Spotify, spotify.com/gamerboy or GB Gaming. Yeah, just look for the GB Gaming podcast. It'll pop up somewhere. And if you don't want to do any of that, it's not a big deal. I do all of this purely out of my own enjoyment because I have the time to do it and it's fun. And I guess that's it. So thanks again for taking the time to listen. This has been Dave talking to you on GB Gaming, where video games come first. Thanks again. And have a lovely summer. I'll see you whenever I see you. Cheerio.